Cyrene Dellinger back here with another episode of Cyrene Properties, and we are ready to talk about negotiations today. How many of you think that it is important to have a real estate agent who knows how to negotiate? I would think that that'd be pretty important, right? Well, you might be surprised to find out that a lot of people don't know how to negotiate and they just kind of are winging it and just, are asking you to tell them what to do. I have heard time and time again from clients who have hired me that had maybe hired someone else before that, oh my gosh, I felt like I was telling them what to do and how to do it and when to do it, and I didn't get anything from them until I asked or those kind of things. So, when you're hiring somebody, you really, really want someone who's a pit bull, who's going to go out there and fight for you. You want someone to negotiate for you and who knows those strategies to do that, because it's not as easy as it looks, really. There's people out there that are trying to sell their homes on their own thinking, oh, it's so easy. It's not. And even if you do get somebody, maybe it is easy to get a person in escrow, but what happens when you get in escrow? How do you, or before you even get in escrow, when you're doing the purchase contract, how do you negotiate so that you get the best deal? And if you're the seller, how do you negotiate so you get the most money, right? So today we're going to talk about that. It's something I love to do. I love negotiations. I feel like I really love to solve problems. And I feel like a negotiation is exactly that. Everyone coming together and finding a solution that works best for everybody. And that always makes me super happy to see that happening when it's a win-win. So if you're looking for a top negotiator and you want someone who's going to kick butt for you, you need a pit bull, give me a call, 1-800-440-7566. That's 800-440-7566. Okay, back to making deals. So there's a lot of different things that go into writing a contract. I'm going to start with buyers. So if you're a buyer and you're writing a contract and you have an agent who's looking out for your best interests, you're going to find a house and then you are going to do a purchase contract. The purchase contract is 12 pages. So you need to first and foremost have an agent who knows how to read a contract and what is on there and how to interpret the contract. Because one little checkbox marked wrong could cost you thousands. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have someone who knows how to do that. It might be a good question to ask before you hire them. And then there's different things that you can negotiate on a contract. So there's some stuff that's going to be boilerplate standard for our California forms, right? But then there's other things that are negotiable. Those things are going to be stuff like price, how long the escrow period is going to be, how much earnest money deposit you're going to put down, who's going to pay for what, if you're going to pay for the home inspection or the termite inspection, and escrow, title, who pays for all those things, right? There's also the ability to negotiate if they're going to leave the appliances, washer, dryer, refrigerator. Those things are all negotiable. Your escrow timeframes when you're buying a house. So when you're buying a house, you have what's called contingency periods when you're the buyer, and you have 3 of those. You have an inspection contingency, an appraisal contingency, and a loan contingency. And those contingencies protect your earnest money deposit from being taken by the seller in the event that you need to cancel. Right? So let's say you do a home inspection and you're like, oh my gosh, this house is falling over and it has like holes in the roof and the floor is falling in, and the seller's not willing to play ball to fix any of that stuff, right? Because maybe your agent sucks and couldn't negotiate it. So then you can cancel and get your earnest money deposit back. It's protecting you, right? The contingency for that is protecting you. On the contracts, your inspection contingency is 17 days. And your appraisal contingency is 17 days, and your loan contingency is 21. So right now, one of the tools for negotiating for my clients is shortening those contingency periods. Why would we do that? Why would we want to shorten our time frame? Well, because right now, if you're not aggressive, you're not getting a house, period. So the home inspection on the contract is 17 days. I'll usually shorten it to 10 days. There's no reason why we can't get an inspection done in 10 days, get somebody out there, negotiate repairs, or walk and get our deposit back. The appraisal contingency, if you have a good lender, because that's another thing, you don't just want a good agent, you want a good lender. So make sure when you talk to me and call me at 1-800-440-7566, 1-800-440-7566, that you make sure that I give you a great referral to the lender that is going to fit your needs. So back to the contingencies. You want to make those shorter if you can. So I typically will shorten the appraisal contingency to 14 days or waive it entirely. Ooh, that sounds scary, right? And shorten the loan contingency to 17 days. So just, I know that this can get a little confusing, so I'm gonna say it one more time. You have 3 contingency periods: inspection, loan, and appraisal. We will shorten or waive any of those contingencies in order to help get your offer accepted and make it a sweeter deal, right? So those contingencies protect your deposit, and as long as those contingencies are not removed in writing, they're not removed. So one of the questions that people give me a lot is, well, okay, the 14 days is up. Oh my God, my deposit. No, you have to physically sign off on the inspection contingency removal or the appraisal contingency removal in order for it to actually be removed. So, and I'm the queen of dragging my feet and making that take longer, even though I promised it would be done in 10 days. Okay, so let's talk about the appraisal contingency real quick. Right now, the market is ridiculous, okay? There's not enough houses and there's a lot of buyers. Rates are super low. There's people out there looking and there are not that many houses. It's like looking for toilet paper back last March. It's kind of like that. We really want to make sure that our offers are as competitive as possible. And in this market, oftentimes that means doing some things that are a little more risky and that I wouldn't necessarily recommend in a balanced market. So one of the things you can do is waive your appraisal contingency. Right now, the prices are going up faster than the comps are able to support. So what does that mean? When an appraiser goes out to the property, they're checking for the bank to make sure that the house is worth what you're paying for it, because the bank's not going to want to lend you more money than the house is worth, right? Why would they want to give you more money? They don't. So the appraiser goes out, and let's say the appraiser is looking at comparable sales. That's what the appraiser has to go off of in order to determine the market value of your property, right? Now, if the comparable sales and then they'll usually look within the last 6 to 12 months. So let's say the comparable sales 6 months ago, if it was from 6 months to now, they've gone up 7%. Well, what are you gonna do, right? The appraiser has to somehow make a case that this house is worth what you're paying for it. And oftentimes right now, I'm seeing a lot of houses not appraising. When people are countering us, if I don't waive the appraisal or I don't do something to cover the difference, then we're not getting offers accepted. So what do? What we do is we go ahead and waive the appraisal contingency. So what happens if you waive your appraisal contingency and it doesn't appraise, right? What are your options? You can either bring in the difference in cash. So you won't be paying more for the house than you already agreed to pay, but you will be having a higher down payment. So you can either bring in the difference in cash. We can try to negotiate with the seller to bring the price down to meet you halfway or something like that. Or you can cancel and get your deposit back. So the goal is to make sure it appraises, obviously, right? Because you want the house. So let's say, for example, you waive the appraisal contingency though, and it doesn't appraise. And I just had one recently, totally bombed the deal. They had waived their appraisal contingency, but the appraisal came back $100,000 below the value that they were in escrow on. $100,000. The house was like $770 and it appraised for $670. So that was a little bit of a deal killer because the people didn't have $100,000 to bring in the difference, right? So not to worry. If you need to cancel, don't worry that your appraisal contingency has been waived. You still have a loan contingency. And if it comes in that low and you don't want to bring the difference and the seller's not going to play ball, they're not going to negotiate, or we can't get it down for whatever reason, then we can go ahead and cancel and get your deposit back because you still have your loan contingency in place. So waiving the appraisal contingency really doesn't mean anything unless you don't have the money to cover the difference or aren't willing to, or you are stuck on the fact that, it appraised for X, so it must be only worth X. That's not necessarily true right now. If a property has 20 offers on it and the offers are all around what you're offering, that's what it's worth. That's what the house is worth. The house is worth what the people are willing to pay for it. So if you think just because the appraisal came in low, oh, no, this house isn't worth it. Well, if there were 20 offers and I somehow managed to finagle and everything and get your offer accepted over 20 other offers, then clearly the house is worth what you paid for it because there wouldn't have been 20 offers otherwise. So that's one thing that we can do to help get your offers accepted is waive that appraisal contingency, shorten our inspection contingency to 10 days. Now, what about the loan contingency? Let's say we're going to shorten it to 14 days or 17 days. So that's why if we do that, okay, cool. don't worry. I'm all over your lender to make sure that that happens on time. And I have a team of people who will also make sure that your lender has everything done on time. Your agent needs to be following the timelines like they're gonna die if they don't get to it on time, right? So they need to be following up with everybody, the home inspector, the lender, escrow, title, everybody, they need to be on top of it. And if they're not on top of it, they're just, oh, great, I got an escrow, it feels so great, it's the first escrow I had all year, then you know what? You're in trouble. So my job is to make sure that I'm on top of that lender. Do you have everything done? Are you ready to go? Because our contingency periods are up. Don't make me come over there and kill you. So we got that covered. If your loan is not approved, if there's something wrong, if there's a reason that you can't get the loan, then we can cancel and get your deposit back. Here's what I ask of my clients. I say for the next 30 days, you are in escrow. And when you're in escrow, what you eat is top ramen. And you sit on your hands and you stay home and you don't go anywhere. You don't spend any money. And if you go out and buy a Hummer in the middle of escrow and screw me over and screw yourself over and kill this deal, I'm gonna kill you. So the rule is you're in escrow, stay home, eat that top ramen, just hang out, don't go out. Netflix, don't go to the movies, don't spend money. You're gonna have a mortgage now. You don't need to finance the furniture. You don't need to go buy that flat screen. Don't do any of that until after it closes. Once it's closed, you can do whatever the hell you want. But prior to that, just sit tight. Okay, here's the big one. Here is the big one, negotiating price. Ooh-wee. What are we gonna pay for this house? How do we find out what to pay for this house? How do we even make a decision on how much we should offer? Well, one of the things that I do and that I am very good at is making friends with the other agent. So I will contact the other agent and I will be their very best friend and get whatever they need to them. I make sure that when we submit an offer, it's super, super clean. Everything that needs to be on there is on there. It's all in one PDF. And the agent that's receiving it is like, oh my gosh, this person can spell. Oh my gosh. And they see that everything's organized. They want to work with somebody who's not going to make their job hard, right? So you want to make friends with that other agent. You want to make sure that they know that you're here to help get it closed. My reputation is one thing that really helps me. So if you want an agent with a good reputation who really can go out there and kick butt for you, give me a call, 800-440-7566. That's 800-440-7566, and I will help you with all of this. All right, back to figuring out what price to offer. So when I'm talking to the other agent and I'm making good friends with them, I'm also digging for information, right? So, oh, well, how many offers do you have? And oh, are they above such and such? And what if I put something into this? Would I be in the ballpark? Or can you give me, would you be willing to just give me a little information about what the seller is looking for? What's most important to the seller? And if the seller is a grandma, we write a heartwarming letter. Right? If it's an investor, we write a letter showing how qualified you are. We customize our negotiation to who we're dealing with, right? So we need to know who are we dealing with. Is this an agent who likes to have a bunch of paperwork, a bunch of information, and they want me to fax it to them? No problem. Is this an agent who wants everything in one PDF and they don't want to see anything, they just want a summary, No problem. Is this an agent who wants to talk to me for an hour because they want to be my best friend? No problem. But we need to figure out what those things are, and that's my job. And I'm good at it, to figure out whatever that is. So after I get an idea from the agent where the offers are kind of at, how many there are, those kind of things, if they're willing to tell me, then I will also run a comparable market analysis and provide you with that so you can see what other similar properties in the area have sold for. And that way you have the data, right? You don't just going off my word for it. You have the hard data in front of you, and I'm not going to ever try to push you to do something you don't want to do or pay a price you're not comfortable paying, because, you know, there's no reason for us to all waste time, get you in escrow, and then have to cancel because you're having buyer's remorse. So I want to make sure you're in a house that you're comfortable with the payment. So we run comps, and then I make a suggestion on the price, right? So it's my professional advice that I'm giving you, but unless you're going to put me on title and I'm going to live there, the decision is yours. So I'll give you a recommendation. I'll let you know what the agent said. And if I tell you right now in this market, if I'm telling you, hey, I think for, this house is 500,000, I think you need to offer 550. You might sit there and be like, huh? what? Oh, are you joking? No, I'm not joking. Because what happens is a lot of people think that just because they listed the property for 500,000, if they're going to offer that amount, that's like makes total sense, right? I mean, they want 500,000. That's what they told us when they listed it. So why would we pay more than 500,000? Well, because it's a strategy that a lot of us use to get a lot of people in there. The more people that are in the house, the more people that see the house, the more of a feeding frenzy we get, right? So if we have a bunch of people, you know, it's like the 99-cent store, right? It's not $1, it's 99 cents. So do you go to the 99-cent store or the dollar store? I mean, what sounds better? So when we see a price on the house, it's like $499, and I know already, oh gosh, that house is worth 600,000. It's a strategy to get you guys in the house, right? So now you're in the house, you love the house, and I'm telling you have to offer 50,000 over. I should be able to provide you some data to show that that's the case, right? In this market, everything is selling over list price. Some stuff way more than others. But like I said, that recently I had that one that appraised for 100,000 lower. I mean, it was on a busy street, I mean, in a decent area, but not like a whole hoity-toity area. And it went $100,000 over list price. $100,000. So I'm seeing it everywhere. It's not something I'm making up. And just a quick note, if your agent's telling you to offer $50,000 over, I've heard from clients in the past where they say, well, you're just doing that because you want to get paid more. Guys, I'm not getting paid that much more for 50,000. It's not that much more money. And I would never do that. I never ever put my money ahead of yours as far as negotiating your deal. That does not bode well for me in the future. You're going to be my client for life, and I'm going to take care of you, and we're going to sell and buy multiple houses and help build your portfolio and your wealth. So my goal is not to make an extra $50 or $100. My goal is to be your agent for life. So if you want an agent for life, give me a call, 1-800-440-7566. That's 1-800-440-7566, and I'll be your agent for life. Okay, so now we have a price. The other thing is terms. So I always tell my sellers, like it's not always price that's important, it's also terms. So we figured out a price, now we have to negotiate those terms. We already talked about those terms as far as being able to reduce the inspection timeframes and the removing appraisals and stuff like that. Okay, fine. But let's get a little more creative. So let's say that you have a property that you know is gonna have 15 offers, okay? One thing that I have done, and if you're willing to go up to a certain price, one thing that works really well is putting what's called an escalation clause in the contract. Not everybody uses it. I've taught it to a few other agents, and they've called me and been like, dude, thank you. I just got my offer accepted. My client is spot on happy. Like, thank you so much for teaching me that. So listen up. What is an escalation clause? An escalation clause is in the contract stating that you are willing to pay X amount over whatever the seller's best and highest offer is. So and you can say like up to a certain amount, but I don't like to add that in there. If the agent on the other side is smart, they'll ask me to, but I don't put it in there. Why? Why would I not put it in there? Because I'm basically, if I say, okay, you're willing to pay $10,000 over the highest price that the seller has up to 900,000. I just told them you're willing to go to 900,000, right? I just told them that you'd go that high. So I don't want to tell them that. I want to tell them you're willing to go 10,000 over whatever the highest one is, so I can find out whatever the highest offer is, right? And a lot of times, as long as everything else is competitive, the terms and you look good on paper and all that kind of stuff, it's a really, really, really good way to get your offers accepted. And not every agent does it. I'm surprised because I also list homes, right? So when I get the offers in and I'm looking at them, I'm not seeing people use this tactic. I'm using it and it's getting my clients' offers accepted. So you're welcome. If you're out there, if you're an agent listening, you're welcome. If you want to join my team, 1-800-440-7566. There's a lot more where that came from. Okay, so we got the escalation clause in there. Boom, that's handled. There's another thing that we can do because right now, what's happening is a lot of people need to sell their house to buy another house. So if they're not moving out of state, they're going to move somewhere, right? So let's say that they want to sell the house to buy another house. And we'll talk about that when we talk about sellers, on what the seller will do on that side. But if they want to sell to buy, then, and in this market, it's so competitive, right? So let's say that seller is going to have to go out and make a contingent offer. Like, they're not going to get their offer accepted. You're going to be in escrow forever waiting for them to close, and it's going to be terrible. So one thing we can do is offer them a free rent back and say, look, you can rent this property back from us for 60 days and at our mortgage payment, whatever our mortgage payment is. And we have escrow hold that money from their proceeds so that everybody's held, everybody's safe. And we offer them a free rent back so they can close, and then they have money, cash in hand, to go buy another house, and it makes them a much more competitive buyer on their end. And you make sure that you get your house. So that's one other strategy that's worked really well, is offering that free rent back, giving them some extra time to go find another house if you know that's what they're up to. Because trying to keep it a contingent offer in this market is very tough. Very, very tough. And you might be waiting a while for the house that you're trying to buy for you to actually be able to buy it. All right, well, gosh, that was a lot about negotiating for your buyer. I talked too much, guys. Sorry, not sorry. I talked a lot about that. So what we're gonna have to do is, you're just gonna have to tune in again, and we'll talk about negotiating for the seller side. What do you think about that? We're gonna move into our next segment real quick. We're gonna check some voicemails. We got some questions from our listeners. I appreciate you guys calling in with your questions. I love it. It's amazing. I always am happy to answer any questions you have. If you call and leave a voicemail, I will get back to you. 1-800-440-7566. That's 1-800-440-7566. Call and leave those voicemails. Ask those questions, guys. I want to get them answered for you. I am here to help. So let's see what we have today.
Hey, Cyrene, I want to sell my house, and I understand that now is a seller's market. What if my house sells so quickly and I don't have time to secure another property? Thanks, Carrie.
Okay, well, actually that ties in really well with what we were just talking about, doesn't it? So what if I don't have time to move? Well, I'm not just gonna let you be homeless first and foremost, so don't worry about that. What we do is, if the buyer is in their offer not offering you that rent back, we ask for it. Or we can just make the deal contingent and say, you know what, I'm not gonna close on this. Everything has to close concurrently, and I'm not gonna close on this until I find a replacement property. That is usually okay, as long as you can qualify for both houses at the same time. And there's a little secret on how to do that too, but I'm not telling, not today. So you can buy both houses at the same time if you qualify, because your house will sell fast, right? So if your house will sell fast and you qualify, you can go ahead and get that done, get yourself a rent back, and go look and buy another house. Write the new offer non-contingent so you can get it accepted. So I have a team of amazing, beautiful agents who will help you find that house quickly and aggressively. And if you want to see them, you can give me a call, 1-800-440-7566, 1-800-440-7566. Or if you want to see me, you can ask for me too. And we will help you find that home so that you do not have to move. Okay, well, that was a lot today. It's time to wrap up this episode of Cyrene Properties, and I hope you got some really good information. If you're an agent listening, I hope you got some great tips to help your buyers. And if you're an agent listening and you're thinking about joining a team, hey, I got one. 1-800-440-7566. There's a lot more learning where that came from. Make it a great day, guys.